What's up, guys? This is Chris Major. I'm out of Birdsboro, Pennsylvania. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to tie a bass popper fly for fly fishing. Now these flies originated, my best guess, I don't really know, but I've heard they've been around for a long time, so I'm guessing around 100 years or so. Maybe less, maybe more, give or take. Either way, they're very big, rather bulky. This is one I tied up a couple nights ago. Very good for largemouth, big smallmouth, and occasionally if you get a smaller one, you can catch some trout on them. These ones, today I'm going to be showing you how to tie are going to be an average frog pattern that are going to be for largemouth fishing and larger smallmouth. Where I live here in Birdsboro, we have a decent sized river. It's the Schuylkill, right in my backyard. Most of the time we're using flies average around that big. Not quite as big as the deer hair one here, but close to it. Can be a little harder to tie some of the flies with the weedless system. You don't really have to worry about that much if you're not casting near structure that's sticking out of water, really. If you're casting near lily pads and real thick weeded areas and trees, then I would say add the weedless rig, which all it is a piece of fishing string tied to the back, brought forward, and tied to the front before you finish. Really isn't that hard. But today we're just going to stick with the normal classic deer hair pattern. And the material we're going to be using for this, we're going to be using mallard flank feathers, green with some black stripes in them for the frog feet. This is going to make the feet action. We're going to have them facing opposite directions, so that way in the water, as the feet get pushed back, they look like a frog moving his feet like that in the water, trying to swim away from any bass. We're also going to be using a little bit of crystal flash just for show in the tail. Might spark bass's interest. Bass like shiny things. Might take it for a big green minnow too. You don't know. I mean, poppers, you know, they're not always going to think, oh, it's a frog, oh, it's a minnow, oh, it's a mouse. Really never saw a green mouse before, but you don't know. They're underneath the water. They're not on top. They don't always see the colors. So the crystal flash is just going to give it a little bit of spark, so they might get a little interested, a little hungrier, or more aggressive to attack your fly. Also, we're going to have some rubber legs. Generally, I like to keep the green pattern going here. Green and white. Classic rubber legs. Some guys go with the round legs. These ones are flat. I find they're a little easier to tie with just because they're not sliding around as much and they like to stay on the line a little better when you're wrapping them on the hook. And of course, our deer hair. Red, orange, and green. Red and orange, they're going to be our backup colors. These colors will be for stripes, polka dots, you know, little cave-in areas on the fly. As you can see with this fly here, this one, can't really see it as good, sorry about the lighting, but you can see there's a little bit of orange there in the back, some black too in that stripe selection. Mostly green though. The green is going to be our base color. And for today, we're going to be tying with, I believe, a number 4 size hook. Just a normal flat hook for tying. Some guys decide to go with popper hooks that have a slight bend in it just so they can slide rubber legs through. I tend to not really care just because I personally know how to tie the rubber legs on with the line. Some guys, when you're tying with a foam popper such as this one, which I don't even add the rubber legs to just because, like I said, fishies and rivers, a lot of times it's just going to give off the imitation of a, you know, minnow, something like that. But just a standard flat hook for tying. Number 4 size, remember that. Our line today that we're going to be using, if I can find it, is. 6/0 orange line. Some of you out there might be thinking, well, if you're tying a green frog, why are you using orange line? Won't that mess it up with the color situation? Won't that spook the fish? To be honest, not at all. Because a lot of these flies, as you can see here, this one here I tied with orange line. Can't even see it, can you? Pretty sure a bass isn't going to pick that out. It's buried in that fly. There's no way you're going to pick that out of there. Only orange they're going to see is the stripe colors. As I hook this up. It's always better too if you have thicker line for the deer hair, just because it's a little bit tougher and can get frustrating with thin line. Thin line tends to snap on you. This is a thinner line I'm using. It's still a little thick, but not too thick, just because of the fact it makes a better dent inside of the deer hair. It hides a little better, but that doesn't mean go even less. I'm like at the bare minimum right now with the 6/0. I would say if you can find thicker line than that, go for it, because you can, all you gotta do is pull harder on the line and it'll make the cave in over the hair a lot tighter, and you won't even see the line afterwards, which is better. You don't want to be pulling extremely hard on real little line on that deer hair and all of a sudden snap, and then you gotta go back in and wrap over it. And that, all that does is cause frustration and cursing and a bunch of other stuff. Also, for the material that I have here today, all this material can be bought at any local fly fishing store. Mine around here is Topahakan Creek Outfitters down in Reading. If you're a Pennsylvania native watching this video, you can find them in Reading or several other locations. The only other one I know of is up in State College, but I know there's 2 others. If I can, I'll post it on the page where all the locations are, and I'll give you the link to the website. And you can check out some of their flies, some of their lines, rods, gear. They got it all. So check them out sometime. Here we go. Adjust you guys a little bit. Alright. So the first thing we're going to do, because I'm right-handed, I have the vise set up facing towards my right, past my shoulder. Just makes it a little easier for me to tie. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to set our base with the orange line. We do what that is. Put it up near the eye of the hook. Wrap around once. Pull this line back and wrap over it. Wrap all the way back to the bend of the hook. Once you get back there, lift the access line up, take your small scissors, and snip. Dispose of that. Go back up the shank of the hook to make a double layer. Most of you may be thinking, well, why am I tying over the shank of the hook if I'm going to be laying down deer hair? Won't that screw it up? Absolutely not, because you don't want the deer hair to spin too much while you're tying this on. You're going to want it to spin, but if it stays bare, that deer hair can sometimes twist all the way around, and that's just going to make for a bad fly, bad coloration. It'll screw up your patterns. Just a bunch of bad stuff going on there with that. There's some other flies here in my way. Go back down the hook. It doesn't have to be perfect, just close. And we're going to start there. Now, as you can see, my line is just about lined up, maybe a little bit behind the very tip of the hook. And what we're going to do there is we're going to start with our tail, as you can see here on my example. Now what I always do for the tail is we're going to start out with our crystal flash. Now with this setup, we're going to get about, oh, I'd say not too thick with the crystal flash, but I'd say about a millimeter thickness of crystal flash there, and we're only going to put on probably twice the length of the hook shank. This hook shank is about 3/4 of an inch long, so I'm going to have it at about close to 2 inches. Not quite exactly, but close. Lay it down on top there. Then you want to make an open loop. You want to do that twice, and then you're going to pull down real tight. Then you can wrap it down. And wrap it towards the front, get all that access down. Sometimes it may start to twist on you, which you don't want to really do. You don't want it looking like caddis wings or something like that. You just want all that middle stuff to disappear. So that's where your deer hair is going to go, and all that's going to do is screw you up. I gotta watch it so I don't cut my line here. And if you have a little teeny bit, just take your scissors and snip it off, like I've been doing. So that, right now, it almost looks like a streamer tail on it, which is good. That's how you want to start out. That's all we're going to be using with our crystal flash, so you can actually put that away now. And now we're going to get out our rubber legs. Now these guys usually come in packs of maybe like 2 or 3 different sets of rubber legs. As you can see here, here's one set that I've used quite a lot. I don't have many legs left on it, but it's alright, it'll work for today. And I'm going to go with 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, this is a good amount. We're going to go with 5. Five rubber legs, like that. You don't want them quite so long though. You want them to be about the same length as what the crystal flash was. So not quite 2 inches, but almost. Maybe about 1.5 inches to 1 3/4 inches. Right now I'm going to just go with 1.5 inches, just because the piece hanging off the back is about 1 inch. You can have 1/2 inch hanging there still on top of your hook. And again, one open loop, another open loop, and then pull tight. You wrap forward, in front of the line. I'm sorry if my hand is in the way too, by the way. I'm trying to show you. Now your legs are going to be here. They're going to be sitting on top of your crystal flash, which is okay. And this access right here on top of your hook shank, just get a decent pair of scissors. Go in there and cut them as short as possible. If you have a smaller pair of scissors, it usually works better, but these guys work just as good. I usually use the larger scissors for the bass flies just because it tends to dull the blades on these small ones more. Also, these aren't mine, they're my dad's, so he'll get very mad if I dull his trout fishing supplies. Wrap these up. One more. Starting to look better. And now we can add our final piece of our tail, which is going to be our mallard feathers. A good piece is good, probably be about 2 inches long for this one. What you're going to do is, you see all that fuzz right on there, just pull that right off. Just pull it all right off. It's no good, you don't really want it. You can clip that. Probably it's going to leave you about 1/2 inch of clear base there for the feather. You can just snip that down to probably about 1 centimeter. Leaving you with a good 2 inches left of good feather. I'm sorry, this feather started out as 3 inches, but now I ended up with 2. And all we're going to do is we're going to lay that around the side. Again, one slow wrap, another slow wrap, pull tight. Put your thumb on top of the shank of the hook, holding it down when you pull tight on this one, because you're going to have to pull down a little tighter just to keep that feather on there. It's not as maneuverable as the rubber and the plastic crystal flash. You just wrap that up. Again, snip off the excess. Reason you want to pull a little tighter is these things can slide out a lot of times when the bass are hitting them. And I can't tell you how many times I've had to re-tie on the tails because I didn't tie them on tight enough. And believe me, it can be a pain when that's all you have to do is go back and tie on a tail when you have the whole fly complete. See if I can find another. Now sometimes, like here, I have a feather it's a bit big for a foot. You can just go in there, and take your scissors and trim up the edges, make it a little skinnier to match the other foot. But first you want to get all that fuzz off the front, like we did with the first one. Again, snip it down to about 1 centimeter on that base. So then you're left with about, again, 2 inches of feather. Now here what I'm going to do is, I'm going to take this feather, oops, and cut this piece here about halfway on the bottom half of the feather because it's just a little too long. That looks a little better. You can ruffle up the feathers a bit if you want to, make it look a little more realistic. You don't want them perfectly aligned and stuff, and then it kind of looks fake. I like the rough look of these flies just because it gives it a little more lifelike action and look to it when you're fishing it. And I think the bass like that more too. And when they're on the water, they create a lot more disturbance. So, give it a little bit of roughness to it. Gives it a lot more lifelike look. And with this one, we're going to do the same thing. Having it face. We're having the bends of them, by the way, facing away from the hook. You can have them face in and always bend them back, but sometimes that'll screw up your feather. But for more action in the water, when the water's pushing back on these hooks, it's pushing back this way, causing the feet to have more of like a flick in the water, looking like a bass. Or not a bass, I'm sorry, a frog kicking his feet back, trying to swim away. And the bass just love that because they think then it's getting away, oh my god, I gotta get it faster. The faster you strip it, the more it does it. Sometimes it can cause a little bit of casting trouble, but once you get it wet and get those feathers soaked down good, it's easier to cast, and you can, I've casted these things out about, I've casted them about 20 yards or so, and hooked into some monster bass just chasing after minnows, and it'll definitely get out there for you once you start to get used to it. Majority of the time though, I would give you guys advice to start out fishing these things if you've never fished them before. Just around anything with lily pads and structure near it. Don't cast right on top of the structure, especially with flies like I'm showing you right now, because this fly in particular does not have a weed guard on it. And necessarily, I don't believe the weed guards work that well, because all they are a fishing line. So I tend to just leave them off and try not to cast on top of structure. I'll cast right up against it, and then I'll let it sit for a second, and then pop it real hard. Not too hard though, but just give it a good pop, give it a good splash. Wait a second. Give it another good splash. And about 5 more seconds. And if nothing hits then give it a fast retreat back in. Just 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Just stripping it. And it'll pop each time across the top of the water. And if nothing hits then, just go to the next spot and do the same thing. And as soon as you get a splash, don't pull that line right away. Let them have it, and then set the hook on them. And back to this. Now, our tail and our fins for the frog are pretty much done. I'm going to trim up this foot a little more. Not too rough a look. Now we're going to start actually tying in the deer hair. The deer hair, we're going to start out with our base, which is going to be green. This deer hair, you want to grab a good chunk of it, probably about 1/2 inch thick deer hair. Take your big scissors, slide in there very carefully. You don't want to cut too many hairs out of there because this stuff can be expensive. Cut a good 1.5 inch length of it. Once you get that, there you go. You want the end that you clipped off, which is going to be your thicker end, to be facing towards the eye of the hook. The part of the deer that you usually see, which is this part, the real fine part with these little needle-like ends to them, you want them facing back for this part of the fish or fly. This is still going to kind of blend in with the tail. Wrap that once, wrap it twice, pull tight. Now it's going to stay on your hook. Wrap a 3rd time around that center and then pull tight. Now you're thinking, well, oh my God, what just happened? It just flipped upside down. What happened was you spun the hair, so that caused it to give you your bottom. And that's what you wanted it. You're going to leave it like that. Grow another size of hair, another pinch of hair about the same size as you did before. Put that off, get all the excess hair out of there that you don't want. Pinch it down real good. Make sure your line's still in the middle of that other deer hair there. Wrap once. Wrap twice. Pull it tight. Now you got this big jumble deer hair on here. I'll zoom in a little more. A little too much. There you go. Big jumble of deer hair. And what we're going to do now is going to be called stacking. So what you're going to do is, you can either use your thumbs and just push back, but I like to use part of a deer hair stacker, smaller one actually. And you take that, put it over the hook, and you push it back, and level it, and then you pull back out. Seems now. You want to be gentle with it though. Don't do what I just did. Because that caused it to rip a couple hairs out of there. Actually, I ripped a lot of hairs. That's okay because we're going to stack it. So keep that pushed back. Now you take your hands, let's just push back far enough. Take your line and wrap it towards the front of that last batch. Get a couple good wraps in there to hold your hair back. And there's your first layer of deer hair. And now all you do for the rest of it is mix it up with your deer hair by clipping off the same sizes as you were before, but now instead of leaving those little needle points on top of your hair, see if I can get it in the camera, you're going to clip them off. Try to keep them even too. A lot of guys use deer hair stackers to keep them even. I kind of don't care, just because of the fact you're going to trim it up at the end to make it look like a real deer hair rock. And sometimes holding the hair at an angle, holding the hair at an angle when you're tying it on makes it easier. I'm going to block you guys for a second here. You just do the same thing. 1, 2, pull tight. I think this one 3 actually. This one's going to go on the bottom. This part will go on our top. Pull it tight. Remember, don't pull too tight now, because if you pull too tight, that'll cause your line to break. That can even happen with thick line too. I've done it. That happened. And like I said, all it is frustration, yelling, and wishing you didn't do it. So you can see now we're forming our second layer. I'm trying to get that pressed back up against that first layer as much as possible and having it blend in, because you don't want any gaps to show. Now what we're going to do is we're going to take our red deer hair and just do the same thing we've been doing. Carve a good thick spot. Clip off some hair. Pinch a good chunk of it. Rub it down. Again, press it towards the back of the hook when you're done. And wrap the front. Keep it holding back. I think this frog we're probably going to lose the orange actually now, because it's looking pretty good there with just green and red. And I don't want to get too messed up with my pattern going on here. So we're just going to stick with the green and red just to keep it simple. Don't want to confuse you guys too much. Now it is a messy fly to make, so be sure to clean up afterwards, especially if you have parents and you're a kid doing this, because I have a father who's big into trout fishing, and he gets very mad when they don't clean up after my deer hair flies are done. And again, push it back. No, you have barely any room on that high of a hook now. Matter of fact, here comes my dad.